Welcome back to Real Lounge Entertainment. As always, I am Mike, and here I am to bring you day 5 of 12 days of Christmas horrors. Ha ha ha! And today's movie is Terrifier 3. Now, if you know the channel, you know we covered these in 2 pod episodes. We did one episode that covers the first and second movie, and a whole episode dedicated just to number 3. So if you're interested and you haven't watched them, you'll find those in our videos. And before we get going, don't forget us a like, subscribe if you haven't, and let us know in the comments. Do you like this franchise? Alright, day 5 is here. Terrifier 3 is here. This movie is not rated, but it would be NC-17 probably, or a very, very strong R. I'm leaning towards NC-17. This movie is from 2024, has a runtime of 2 hours and 5 minutes, so thankfully it's a little bit shorter than number 2 because that one was a little bit too long for that story. 78 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is probably, in my opinion, a little bit higher than it should be. But, I know lots of you really like this movie, so there you go. A budget of $2 million and a box office of $90 million, which is ginormous for this type of movie, especially for an unrated movie in theaters. It's unheard of. So this movie follows right off after Terrifier 2. We follow Sienna as she gets out of the mental hospital and goes to her aunt and uncle's house to spend Christmas break. And she has a little niece there named Gabby, and they kind of have like a really tight bond, and it's very cute. We're also going to spend a lot of time with her dealing with her PSD from the events of the second movie, which is a lot. This movie, I think, is a couple years after the first one. Her brother's now in college, so he's kind of on the phone a couple times, but not really a big player in this movie. But guess what? She should have PSD because that was horrible, horrible events that happened to her. And she's right, because not only is she coming back for this movie, Art the Clown and Victoria are coming back too. Near the beginning of this movie, we have scenes where Victoria is in the mental hospital, and she kind of gets rescued, if you want to say rescued, by Art the Clown. Here we have Chris Jericho being one of the security guards or something, I don't really know, but he gets dispatched pretty quickly. But always fun to see Y2J in something. Just like the other 2 movies, we get a lot of violence and a lot of gore in this movie. We have workers that are kind of just in the house where Art the Clown and Victoria have kind of just been laying dormant for a couple of years. They get dispatched. We have scenes at the hospital, not only Chris Jericho, but some others get dispatched. We have a scene at the bar with Clint Howard and a guy dressed like Santa, and Art the Clown, comes in. We have spent about 10 minutes there. Probably the best scene in the movie, if you ask me. But this is where Art the Clown gets his Santa costume. Yes, for the rest of the movie after this, he'll be wearing a Santa costume. And if you ask me, the look, the black and white makeup, and the red suit kind of just really pop. Art the Clown already has a really good, iconic look, if you ask me. And this is also iconic in its own way, and it just really looks nice in this movie. And of course, we have the mall scene where he pretends to be Santa, have a whole bunch of kids come sit on his lap, and he all gives them presents. And it doesn't end very good for anybody. Don't really like that scene, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So you have Sienna dealing with her PSD and also seeing Art the Clown in her dreams and at the mall and stuff like that. And you have Art the Clown and Victoria taking out people here, there, people that some of them are important to the story, some of them aren't. And it's all going to lead up to their epic battle, just like at the end of the second one, in her aunt's house. Just like the second one, this battle is brutal, it's gory, and I'm not going to tell you who wins, but it is very not forgettable. Now, I don't want to spoil this movie for anybody, so from this point, we're not going to really talk about, the details of the movie. We're going to talk more about some talking points of this movie I have. Some of them might be general spoilers, but not really, so don't be too afraid. Just like before, the acting in this movie is great, especially for a low-budget movie. Art the Clown, Sienna, these characters are very endearing because they got the right people to act as them in the movie. The writing is amazing and very spot on. So even though I have a problem with the gore in the movie, the writing is what carries these movies, and it's the only reason I'm willing to keep watching them. And like I said, the gore effects are great if you're into that thing. If you know me at all, I'm not really a gore person, but I can watch a movie and respect it for what it is and know hey, this is made for a different audience. That's not me, so I can judge it based on other criteria. So if you like gore, you'll love this movie because it has a lot. And as I mentioned before, Sienna is dealing with PSD, and this movie, I think, better than any horror sequel that I can remember, really deals it in a very detailed, realistic way. I mean, no one if you have somebody chasing after you in a Friday the 13th or Halloween, they haven't dealt too much into what it would be like having to relive those events in your head over and over. And Sienna went through maybe some of the worst I've ever seen and survived. So I'm glad they did it in a really good way, and it's one of the high points of this movie. The designs of Art the Clown and Victoria in this movie work very well, especially in the later scenes when they're dressed as like Santa Claus and she's like dressed as like a clown with like a spiked, head thing. Very iconic. You're not going to hear me complain about the look at all, because if you just see a picture of them, you're just like, dang, that's a good horror movie. So with the gore aside, and me not judging that movie based on the gore and stuff like that, I do have stuff that I will judge it on. And it's one of my big problems I have with this movie, or any movie, and that is the violence against kids. There's a scene at the beginning where Art the Clown to Santa Claus goes into his family's house, and we see the violence that has happened to a couple kids in that house. And then there's a scene at the mall. We, once again, get some violence against kids in there. And there's even a smaller scene at the end that involves violence against another kid. Now, for me, this takes me out of the movie almost completely. It really does. That's the one thing that really bugs me, and in my opinion, is just poor taste. The writing and everything else is so high quality in this movie, I don't think you needed to go there. I know you're kind of going for shock value to get people into theaters and talking about it, but for me, it was just one step too far. So the good and the bad, there's a lot of very memorable scenes in this movie. The gore obviously is going to stand in, the look of the characters. There's a scene in the shower with a girl who like is doing a podcast about like real crime and wants to interview Sienna, and let's just say she's very irritating, and you're going to remember that scene, trust me. But like I say, I'm not here for the gore, I'm here for the story. And yes, I'm still interested in this story. The fourth movie, I think, is supposed to be the last one. I don't know if in the franchise or just the Sienna story, but I will be there to see how the Sienna story wraps up. I'm very excited because, like I said, she is one of the best protagonists I've seen in a horror movie in a long, long time. She's very well developed, very well acted. We really root for her almost more than like anyone I can remember. You just trust that she's going to, make it through, and you just want her to more than anybody I can remember. Now, as far as giving this movie a rating out of 5, I have a little bit of a tough time and conundrum. I mean, had it not had those scenes at the beginning and the middle and stuff like that, or just tweaked where it didn't involve the kids, this movie, I probably would have said 3, 3.5. But because those scenes were in there, because I just hate the fact that they had to go there, I cut my score in half. I give this a 1.5 out of 5. Now, I still say if you're a horror person and you don't mind gore, it's a thumbs up. Definitely go watch it. I know lots of you people have already seen it and love it, and I'm glad you have a movie for you. I'm still going to see the next one, but a 1.5 is all I can go because I watched this movie twice. I don't think I really want to watch it again just because of those scenes alone. But like I usually say, these people worked really hard to make this movie, and it shows. You can see in every, shot that they're really trying, and to the best of their abilities, they're doing a really good job there. So make sure you support these smaller movies. And I don't even know if you can call it small anymore, because now, the next one's probably going to have a huge budget. But if we don't keep supporting these like horror films and all these smaller movies, then they're not going to get made anymore. And we'll only have like the studio stuff, which is like cookie cutter stuff. And that's just not interesting to me. So thanks for watching day 5 of 12 Days of Christmas Horrors. Make sure you join us tomorrow when we get a British zombie musical movie. Yeah, you heard that right. A horror musical. God, you got to love it.